The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Oh, yeah, everybody. Good morning. It is Thursday, June 6th, you guys. Oh, yes, and today is D-Day. That's right. So we want to memorialize that. It's also National Eyewear Day, National Higher Education Day. Are you ready for this, Rico? National Applesauce Cake Day. That just sounds like a messy mess, right?
What? Have you ever had an applesauce? What the fuck is that?
Exactly. I'm so confused by that. To me, it's just like applesauce with like a bunch of bread or something. Like maybe like it's like a sandwich or something.
These mashups are killing me, man. I saw like Oreos mixed with Takis the other day. Hell, man. Like, these are my ideas.
Mm-hmm. It's also National Drive-In Movie Day. Mm-hmm.
When the van is a rockin'.
Yes, and shout out to all the home growers out there, because today is also National Gardening Exercise Day. Yes.
Besides your garden.
Yes, and thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above on your screen to see exactly where we live on the internet, and we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. But kicking off first, that's right, we have the baby daddy specialist, Mr. Rico Lamitte. He's the dope dad himself, who oftentimes doesn't comb his hair because he has a lot of bad hair days. That's right, it is the dope dad himself, Rico Lamitte.
I don't think you really understand how black hair works, Jason.
I do. I do, bro. I remember Kid and Play.
Oh, my God. Got to put you into some DEI training.
Oh, boy. Yeah, DEI is DOA, bro.
CBDs.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, speaking of acronyms, let's talk about the DEA, because the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency has opened up public comments for its proposal. They did open up public comments for its proposal to reschedule cannabis 2 weeks ago, and has already received over 11,000 submissions. Over 7,000 of those received were in the first week alone. And even with 7 more weeks left until the period ends, Green Market Report's Adam Jackson believes that if the public comments made so far are any indication, the DEA's proposal to reschedule cannabis is well on its way to approval. Jackson reported that Headset found 97% of the comments submitted through May 29th were in favor of the proposed regulation. And a review of the comments after the period analyzed by Headset showed that the overwhelming support continues. The DEA's notice of proposed rulemaking cites the Department of Health and Human Services recommendations, stating that cannabis has a lower potential for abuse compared to Schedule I and II substances, accepted medical use, and limited physical or psychological dependence. The notice also acknowledges a 2023 HHS recommendation recognizing the accepted medical use of cannabis for treating conditions like anorexia, nausea, vomiting, and pain. Per the article, the comments submitted to the Federal Register reflect a wide range of perspectives on the rescheduling proposal. The first official comment posted was from a U.S. Marine Corps veteran with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and chronic pain. He wrote with gratitude for quote-unquote leadership of government officials, saying that this is the first step of rescheduling cannabis is going to benefit the lives of millions of people in the U.S. The cannabis plant saved my life, the commenter who submitted anonymously wrote. I'm now pain-free, full mobility, and in a strong positive mental state since being in Nevada State Medical Program since 2017. With blessing of love and respect to all those serving in the USA. God bless America. Another comment pointed to the potential benefits for individuals with disabilities, such as autism. Current regulations before this have hindered access to potentially beneficial treatments. The commenter, who identified as an autistic adult, shared their personal experience using CBD oil to manage symptoms like anxiety, behavioral issues, and sleep problems. For those who oppose the change, commenters cited concerns about public health harms, the lack of research supporting the use of high THC products for medical purposes, and the potential risks to young people. One comment also questioned whether botanical cannabis would meet the criteria for currently accepted medical use and raised concerns about safety, citing associations with psychosis and other mental issues. Jackson also noted that the commenters who believe rescheduling does not go far enough also had a strong presence among the submissions. Rescheduling cannabis is a step in the right direction, but frankly, it should be descheduled entirely, wrote one individual. The sentiment was echoed throughout the comments. Do my thoughts change anything? Nope, they wrote. Will anyone care I shared this opinion? Probably not. But deschedule and legalize the damn plant. sounds like somebody on our team or somebody in our comment section wrote that one. He concluded by saying the overwhelming public support for rescheduling cannabis is also reflected in other arenas. For example, a January 2024 Pew Research study found 88% of U.S. adults support the legalization of marijuana in either medical or recreational use. The public comment period will remain open until July 22nd. After which the DEA will review all information that was provided on the record. In addition, the agency may grant an administrative hearing to hear more evidence about the proposal. So, the data collected as of now is to be believed. It looks like we are pretty much headed towards a lot of support, 97% so far, support towards rescheduling. Big shout out to people who have made their public comments. I have not yet, but this is a good reminder. I'll put my public comments in there. Interesting thing. I think this rescheduling thing is going to go forward. Interested in hearing what the rest of you guys have to say about this one. I'll leave it at that. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High News. Let's talk about it.
Well, Rico, I'll tell you what. This just shows the ignorance of rescheduling by the American public overall.
Seems like we're pretty much accepting.
No. The reality is, if they understood how Schedule 3 works and they understood all of the components of how it does work, I don't think the average American consumer or anything would support a rescheduling. They would be demanding a descheduling.
I think that falls on us. The cannabis industry has a huge miss to try to educate the public, to educate the masses, because the same people, it's awesome to have this overwhelming support, but the same people that are like, yeah, this is a great thing, are the same people that think that the Biden thing actually let people out of jail.
Exactly. You know You're so right about that, Stone. You are so right about it. And oftentimes this just goes to show the dysfunctionality within the cannabis space, because you have a number of loud voices in the echo chamber that are praising Schedule 3 and what a blessing to society it will be, and we're going to get rid of 280E and all this extraness. But the reality is they don't really realize that they're signing their own deathbed.
Hey, but Jason, I want to say that this is that incremental change. This is the baby step.
You cannot have incrementalism with this type of a situation.
Let me finish.
Okay, please go ahead.
This is what I'm saying. Like,
my bad.
These baby steps that people are accepting. You know me, I'm a radical motherfucker. Like I don't like no baby steps in nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like big king gorilla.
Yeah, big old Bigfoot.
Giant steps. Yeah, this motherfucker. Like, that's what I like. So I think like a lot of people who are commenting here saying like, oh yeah, like we should deschedule, but you know it's the right way forward. they should be speaking up. And
they don't know any better. They don't know any better because they're not politically astute enough to understand all the nuances that go in and how this whole thing will actually work. All they're thinking is their whole mindset is just like, oh yeah, cannabis is going to be less. It's going to be less than what it is now. So like they're like, oh, it's a great thing. It's a great thing. Everyone's cheering, yada yada yada, and it's that ignorance is bliss mentality.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, they're not going to change the way that the DEA is going to deal with Schedule 3. I mean, their history is they're going to drag their feet. And although this is a step, I think it's a step off a cliff.
Yep.
Once you put yourself on this track, the public just doesn't understand. They think, oh, it's really bad to be Schedule 1, 280 is bad.
Mm-hmm.
If this fixes that, it must fix your problem. No, it makes the problems worse. And all the people out there who think, I'm going to get into this industry now, you're smoking crack.
Exactly.
You're just not going to get into this industry.
Hold on, Dale. Would it be, since it's cannabis, would it be considered green crack, Dale? What these guys are smoking?
Yeah, they probably take a swab from your mouth to see if you've been smoking or something, right?
Mm-hmm. Green crack.
I don't know.
Popular strain back in the day.
Yeah, Hunter Biden would.
Yeah, that
was. But the problem we continue to face is that this is putting lipstick on the pig. It's not dealing with the real problem here, that cannabis should never have been put where it was. From 1937 on, the federal government's just lied, cheated, and stole to get where it is right now and drug its feet. Mm-hmm. And that's where we can't get the public's attention, because they think, oh, this is a step that'll solve our problems or move in the right direction. And the problem is, like I said, you're stepping off a cliff here. Once it's Schedule 3, how are they going to move it off of Schedule 3?
Exactly.
Congress would have to do something here.
Exactly.
And Congress hasn't shown the ability to do anything. They can't find their ass with both hands.
Well, here's the thing. If Congress hasn't done anything by now, they're not going to do anything later on, because there's not going to be enough gunpowder in the political muster of public opinion to change anything on weed. We're going to blow our load on Schedule 3, you guys. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're all up in arms about this. You sound a whole lot like I did about safe banking.
We're about to be. We're about to be. Hold on. We're about to be like Forrest Gump when he's hanging out with Jenny.
You sound a whole lot like I did last year about that safe banking when I said it wasn't going to pass regardless. But I'm like, if safe banking got passed for everything else, guess what? We never have legalization. We never have anything else we wanted, because the banks would get what they wanted and they would make their money. The biggest the big would make their money. So this is our time to collectively put in a Rico Lamitte push, the same push that I put up, saying fuck safe banking.
Pass safe banking already. Yeah, I think we should take a hard pass on Schedule 3, and we should totally reject it.
I don't believe that the Rohrabacher FAR in its latest iteration is going to survive if it goes to Schedule 3.
I agree with that. I don't see how it. I agree with that, Dale. I think that's not going to continue if it does go to Schedule 3, because they'll say that we don't have a need for it.
Well, yeah, and that opens back up
exactly right, bro.
Unless you change the federal minimum mandatories about weed, if you grow 100 marijuana plants, you're going to prison for 5 years. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have a Schedule 3 license to grow marijuana, and they take away Rohrabacher FAR or whatever it is, Blumenau or McClintock, whatever the hell it is today.
Whatever two names they want to put on it now, huh, Dale?
Yeah. I can tell you what happens when they come to your house with guns and take you away.
Yep.
It's not fun.
I mean, we just showed a video of that the other day. In Rico's story, what New York cops are doing. Same kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they pointed guns at my children. After that, I'm no longer your friend. Fuck you and the horse that brought you in here. There's no need for guns around weed. It's just stupid. And oh man, I don't want to see that come back. But the federal courts are ready to slam people. I mean, their hands are really tied, because unless you cop a plea, if you're charged with growing more than 100 plants, there's no wiggle room. You're going to prison for 5 years. Mm-hmm. And what's the public sympathy going to be then? Right now, we've got a lot of sympathetic public members out there. You shouldn't lock people up for weed. But the system's geared up to grind you up again if these restraints are taken off.
Yep, I totally agree with that assessment, Dale. And on that, we're going to keep this thing rolling. We're going to roll right into a commercial, and we're going to be right back.
Hey, you America. Do I look like Sean Connery?
Good morning, America. Saman Razani coming to you live from sunny Los Angeles, California with the one and only highest host, Mr. Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast? You can find it on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. No excuses in 2024. If you haven't checked us out, check it out now. And also, check out what the Prophet's doing in 2024.
Oh yeah, everybody, he is back. And right back like cooked crack in Hunter Biden's kitchen.
Yeah.
He's back from the triangle down here, blessing us with his presence once again. The highest Republican in every room that he walks into, known for smoking the best weed in the world. Jason Beck.
Oh yeah, Rico. And I do want to send out a very, very happy birthday to Miss Leah Patrick. She is constantly watching us every day during our live feed, and today is her birthday, and so we do want to wish her a very, very happy birthday, Leah.
Yeah.
Yes, you guys. And guess what? The Senate passes a resolution condemning Russian imprisonment of American who used medical marijuana as an opioid alternative, you guys. That's right. The U.S. Senate has approved a resolution calling for the release of a U.S. citizen incarcerated over marijuana in Russia, emphasizing that he was a lawful medical cannabis patient in Pennsylvania using state legal products as an opioid alternative. About 2 months after the legislation from Senator Bob Casey, Democrat from Pennsylvania, cleared committee, the full chamber passed the resolution under unanimous consent on Tuesday. Great job, Senate. The measure also calls on President Joe Biden's federal government to step up efforts to secure his release. The resolution says the 14-year sentence that Mark Fogel received after being convicted of large-scale drug smuggling over possession of a half ounce of cannabis is politically motivated and disappropriate, especially when taking into account the fact that he was using marijuana for medical purposes in accordance with a doctor's recommendation. I don't know why that would even come into play when it comes to Russia, but whatever. In a quote, Mark Fogel has undergone 3 back surgeries, a spinal fusion, a hip replacement, and 2 knee surgeries to correct various injuries and health issues, which have left him with chronic back pain and a permanent limp. The measure says, and he did not wish to use opioids to manage his pain and was instead prescribed medical marijuana for pain management in a manner consistent with the state law of Pennsylvania. Fogel, in quotes, stated he intended that marijuana solely for personal consumption, and the government of the Russian Federation has presented no evidence to the contrary. The resolution reads, yet he received a 14-year sentence following a politicized show trial, in quotation marks. Casey, speaking on the Senate floor on Wednesday, a day after the resolution's passage, said that Fogel, in quotes, had medically prescribed marijuana in his luggage to help him through the year in dealing with his chronic pain. That pain came from a hip replacement. It came from multiple back surgeries, multiple knee surgeries, and a spinal fusion, which has left Mark with a permanent limp, the senator said. Mark's worsening medical conditions and actions to bring in less than an ounce of marijuana into Russia should not require him to serve the full 14-year sentence and a Russian penal colony. 14 years imprisonment for less than an ounce of marijuana, he says. The resolution also points out that Russian lawyer informed Fogel's family that the typical sentence for a low-level cannabis possession offense in the country is 5 years of probation, and that Russia has levied lesser sentences on people charged with possession of 1,500 grams of various narcotics, they say. In a quote, Mark Fogel's sentence was vastly disproportionate to the severity of his nonviolent crime, widely dissimilar to the typical punishments for comparable offenses in Russia, and clearly motivated by ongoing political tensions between Russia and the United States, it says. The measure calls on Russia to immediately release Fogel and for the White House and State Department to, in quotes, press for his immediate release in all interactions with the government on the Russian Federation. It further urges the government of the Russian Federation to to desist from issuing outlandishly disappropriate criminal sentences to nonviolent United States citizens and condemns the government of the Russian Federation continued use of detentions and prosecutions of citizens and lawful permanent residents of the United States for political purposes. The resolution was introduced last July, shortly after a family of Fogel visited the White House to meet with high-level officials and also raise attention to his case with members of Congress. While the Senate version has now been enacted, a House companion version has not yet advanced in that chamber. Casey said in a press release that after nearly 3 years of captivity, Mark's health is rapidly declining and his life is in danger. I urge President Biden and his administration to do everything possible to bring Mark home, he said. Meanwhile, a separate coalition of more than 20 U.S. senators filed a different resolution in April condemning the arrest of the American citizen in Russia, including Fogel. Lawmakers have made repeated pleas to the State Department to escalate Fogel's case, including formally designating him as wrongfully detained, and the resolution also urges that designation. They've pointed out that his situation is comparable to that of WNBA player Brittany Grenier, who also served time in a Russian prison over possession of cannabis oil that she also lawfully obtained as a medical marijuana patient in Arizona before being released as part of a prisoner swap that the Biden administration negotiated. Signatories also filed a bill in June that would require the Senate or the State Department to explain to Congress why it has not designated Fogel as well as other Americans detained abroad as wrongfully detained. Senator Steve Daines, a Republican from Montana and former U.S. ambassador to Russia, Michael Fowl, also sent a letter to the Secretary of State imploring the administration to immediately escalate diplomatic efforts to secure Fogel's return. And this article goes on and on and on, talking about all this and all these things that these federal officials are doing in regards to. And you can read the full article on our website at www.high9news.com. But we're going to go into some comments, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. This is Jason Beck for the High at 9 News. What do y'all say about this?
I don't want to even get into like whataboutism, about like Brittany Griner, Jared Fogle, like all that stuff. Like, number one, why are people still going over to Russia with everything that's going on? Mm-hmm. Number two, why would anybody be bringing weed to Russia? Mm-hmm. Like, what the fuck is going to happen? And now we're expending our resources as a country, and you're going to have the political blowback from this, from a country that doesn't even have it federally legal, and you have a bunch of people in Washington that are still against this. It's hard to make that case on the grand scale of things when you're not allowing people to get medicine here in the United States. Mm-hmm. Just look like a bunch of hypocrites. That's all I'm gonna say on it.
My advice is don't get on the plane with weed intentionally. That's pretty fucking stupid.
You know what I find interesting about this, Dale, is that all of these federal officials are now claiming as medical marijuana as that it should be okay because it's medical marijuana and it's licensed in their state. It's like the federal government doesn't even acknowledge that. So why would they expect the Russian government to acknowledge that?
Right.
Well, it's like traveling to the Cayman Islands with ammunition in your bag. Mm-hmm. Like, you think we're all sort of got accustomed to, people are going to fuck with you over this stuff. You get on a plane and leave, or you get onto a cruise ship or something like that, and you end up in handcuffs, and then, I didn't know. Well, let me be clear. Turn the volume up. Don't fucking travel with weed. Mm-hmm. Okay? It's that simple. If you do and get in trouble, how much sympathy's in the dictionary between shit and syphilis, okay? Mm-hmm. If you're told not to do it and you get pinched, it's like, okay, now what? Have your retainer, okay, let's get you some bail money, and let's work on, did your mama drop you on your head a lot when you were a child? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yep. I feel you on that, Dale.
There's a difference between shit and syphilis.
You have any thoughts on this, Stone?
I don't think I can say anything that Dale didn't cover. I mean,
okay.
Obviously,
I'll throw another curveball out there for you.
Don't go to Russia, and especially don't go to Russia if you need weed to live. I mean,
I'll throw another curveball out there for you. Tucker Carlson had an interview with President Vladimir Putin, and
it was not an interview. That was not an interview. That was propaganda.
Okay, whatever you want to call it. I'm calling it an interview. And they brought up Mark Fogel in that interview, and Vladimir Putin is pretty adamant of the fact that that Mark Fogel was a U.S. spy spying on Russia in regards to, and I bet you that's the reason why they're holding him on this 15-year sentence as opposed to a 5-year sentence.
Yeah, but you can be a spy. You get out off the plane and look around, you're a spy. I mean, come on, man. That's an excuse.
I agree with that too, and it's easy for Russia to say, but at the same time, with the things that have happened in the last 48 hours in regards with Russia and Ukraine situation, I don't see how the U.S. has any leverage with Russia whatsoever to get any of our people back.
No, we should have gotten more for the Merchant of Death.
100%, Stone.
What we got?
100%. I totally agree with you on that one, buddy.
Oh no, man!
But you got to be willing to use a baseball bat if you're going to be in charge of this shit. If you're limp wrist and pusillanimous, then you swap whatever you can to get a headline. It's like you're not fixing shit. Giving so much up for getting nothing back. And I might add, I've traveled the world when I had prescription medications. I registered them as I traveled, as I got my visas. Mm-hmm. And if the United States actually had a prescription you could take with you, and the world recognized it, you could travel with weed.
Yep.
But it's not a prescription drug. It just doesn't fit all the paradigms. No matter how much you want to wish and hope it's going to be so, the reality is it ain't so.
Well, Dale, it will be once it moves to Schedule 3.
I was about to say
that.
Yeah, right. I think that the U.S. even bringing this up is setting dangerous precedent and saying that Americans can go anywhere in the world and disregard the rules and the laws that are on the ground when they land. Is what I think.
But we still have the single convention out there too. Mm-hmm. That hasn't been fixed. I mean, it says we're not supposed to be doing this if you follow the convention we signed back in '60. Because now they're making it legal, and it's a muddled up mess right now. And just don't travel with weed, because if you get caught, it's like I don't know what to tell you, man. You were warned.
Yeah. Well, on that, we're going to keep this train rolling, and we're going to roll right into Mr. Attorney, Mr. Dale Schafer. He's the founder of Armada Law Practice, and at one point in time did some time for a cannabis crime. Here to piss up a rope and show you how to do it. That's right, is none other than Mr. Dale Schafer.
Thank you. Morning, and Yo Loco's off his meds and unsupervised again today, so watch out. And where do you find sympathy in the dictionary? Okay, write that one down. We need a T-shirt about that. Hey, my story today is an example of why you be very cautious of the federal courts. This is a case involving a guy named Bjorklund, who was growing as part of a collective back in 2010. He's grown in Santa Barbara County. Now, for those who aren't from California, back in 2010, we operated under the collective cooperative model we called SB 420 here. So you could collectively grow weed, and you could then defend yourself against criminal charges for a whole host of things if you were growing as part of a collective or a cooperative group. Now, the rules of this got kind of loose, and there were some places that were more tolerant than others, and Santa Barbara County was apparently not one. Well, it wasn't. There was a few other counties here that would, spank you pretty hard. And back in 2010, this was a long time ago, Santa Barbara County, an officer there got a warrant to go out to what was alleged to be an illegal grow. They cut all the plants down, grabbed generators, guns, motorcycles, all kinds of stuff, as they're prone to do, took it all away. They kind of kicked things over, took property away, destroyed all his plants, and then charged him with California crimes. Now, this is not an unusual situation you find yourself in, and Santa Barbara County had a reputation for, kind of shading the rules a bit to get a warrant to go out and, kick your anthill over and then go, oh, we're not going to prosecute, too bad, so sad. And this apparently was the situation for years. And finally, in 2023, for reasons I cannot fathom as an attorney, they decided to go to federal court and sue the county. And the officer who swore out the search warrant for a whole host of federal violations under what they call 1983. This is under the color of authority. You engage in activities that violate someone's constitutional rights. Now, what turned out in this case is what I would have predicted. But they went through 2 separate complaints, and they got to the 3rd amended complaint, and they were left with an allegation of due process violations, of Fourth Amendment violations for coming in and going outside the warrant, and for deception with the judiciary in getting the search warrant. Okay? And the county just said, no, you can't sue us for this, basically. And the federal court started by saying marijuana is illegal under federal law, so you have no property right in it. So if you lost all your weed, too bad, so sad. We don't recognize the property right. Too bad. That's the first reason why I don't recommend you go anywhere near a federal court with marijuana, because back in 2008, the San Diego normal case, the court said specifically, if you're in California under California law, weed's legal, and we're not going to prosecute you under the federal system. But if you go to the federal courts and try to argue about what the state did under state law, they're going to close the door in your face like they did here, because like marijuana is legal. What are you here complaining about? This stuff's illegal. Okay? That's how the courts view this. Now, Mr. Bjorklund's attorney did some other stuff that makes me scratch my head a little bit as an old dog attorney and supervised a lot of lawyers. When the county responded here and moved to dismiss all these charges, they forgot that they were told by the court that one of these cases, a due process case, is we're not going to allow you to go forward with it. So they did it again. It's like, dude, when the court says you lose and you can't come back at this, don't come back at this again. One of their complaints, big complaints, is that the county was all involved in all of the stuff that was going on. It's called a Morel charge, that agents of the county were involved in nefarious activities, so the county is responsible for them. The court said no, unless you have direct testimony or you're alleging you have direct knowledge that the county was involved in this, you lose, get out of here. And then they complained about the guns not being brought back and all of this property being given back, and the court pointed out that you have procedures under state law to get your guns and your property back. You don't come in and allege that you've applied for those and you're not getting any satisfaction. We don't want to hear it. Okay? The only charge that they allowed to stay was judicial deception, because the allegation was that the officer who swore out the warrant knew that the garden was legal and that his informant was not trustworthy. He had ulterior motives to cause problems here. He let that go forward. But for everything else, they got the swift kick in the ass, get out of here. And the cautionary tale here is, number one, the federal courts will not support you and help you. Okay, so stay out of there. If you have a snowball's chance in hell, stay in your state courts. And I put this into my contracts, that we don't want to go to federal court. Okay, stay out of there. So as we move forward with people discussing what's going to happen with Schedule 3 and things like that, just remember, the DEA is not going to fast walk this, and the federal courts are not going to be helpful. Okay, so I'm going to throw this back at you. What do you all think about this? I just don't think the leopard's going to change its spots very easily here.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you, Dale. They definitely, leopards are not changing their spots anytime soon, at all, whatsoever. You there, Rico? You with us?
Yeah, I said nope.
Oh.
They ain't. We will not.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
Exactly.
Yeah, it sucks. Dude's situation sucks, but yeah, he ain't getting his shit.
No, they're not getting none of this shit back. They're getting washed. They're gonna get washed like detergent soap.
Yep. Get washed like.
Well, I'm surprised the guns weren't a bigger problem. When they rolled it on me, they found I had guns, and they didn't take them. Sometimes you get lucky, but sometimes guns can be a complicating factor here. Having guns around weed arguably violates federal law. Could be a big problem for you. So Be very careful about having guns. I mean, sometimes you got to survive, and everybody in America seems to have a gun, but around weed, it can be a problem.
Definitely, they do not like weed and guns. It is not. It's almost like electricity and water, Dale.
Yeah, don't check that box. Right?
Well, it continues to amaze me that people think they're going to be hopeful as the federal government sort of slugs its way along trying to make changes here. And I just want to remind people that in a real sense, I mean, the DEA has already shown its hand here when they're arguing that we're not going to trust the science from the other side. We're going to use our own science, which is notoriously fouled and slow and only supports the bad stuff. This is just a clear statement. The court could not be more clear. We do not accept a property right in marijuana because it's illegal under federal law. End of question. So if you think that, it's going to be, rainbows and unicorns out there, you're smoking crack. It is not going to be.
You're so right, Dale. And it's just like the federal government picks and chooses when it wants to relate with these. Kick these laws into effect, and they really just pick and choose the times and people that they want to enforce upon.
I can tell you I had a big crosshair on me. Molly and I did, and they kicked our ass as hard as they could, and they'll do it again. If you take away the protections from DOJ spending money, there will be people selected out, and they're going to have their ass kicked up between their earlobes. It's going to be horrible.
Yep, fair enough. And on that, we're going to roll into a commercial, and we are going to be right back. The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated. All right, stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you hit that like button. I know you'll appreciate it. We'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already. We just hit 3,400 subscribers, so thank you all that have been hitting that subscribe button. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show are available on our website at www.highatnightnews.com.
I'm Jason Beck, and this is Smoky Vanilla. And if you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to get a stretch and smoke with Smoky Vanilla.
Hi, I'm Smoky Vanilla. I have my bachelor's degree in kinesiology, and I'm a sports massage therapist and stretch coach. I focus mostly on individuals that are in sport with chronic pain or injury. I love to intuitively create and customize a session based on the individual that I'm working with. We'll go over a few postural assessments, work together to create a wellness journey based on the health history, past injuries, or anything still affecting you today. And we'll get you back on your feet right away with less pain.
We're about to stretch, and then we're gonna smoke, because we're gonna get on our stretch and smoke. If you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to come on down and get a stretch and smoke with none other than Smoky Vanilla.
Well, y'all, gas station Delta 8 might be the norm out there in the great purple state of Texas. It's a good thing our next correspondent is the furthest thing from normal. He's hitting the high road, and he's a dope dad, and he figured he'd be better off hitting the high road. Y'all know who it is. It's coming up next is the host of the show with the same damn name, Stone Slade.
Thank you, Rico. Thank you. All right, we've got some fighting words. California cannabis market has long been touted as the largest legal cannabis market in the world by politicians and advocates alike. Governor Gavin Newsom even reiterated this claim twice in the past 2 months. However, recent data suggests that California's dominance in the cannabis industry might be slipping. According to BDSA, a cannabis analytics firm, Michigan now sells more legal cannabis than California. You heard that right. Michigan. In March, Michigan sold 22 million cannabis products, while California lagged slightly behind with 21.3 million. It's worth noting that any individual packaging of cannabis, like flower or a vape pen, counts as a product, but rolling papers and pipes do not. BDSA uses point-of-sale data to calculate overall product sales, and while it's not clear exactly when Michigan surpassed California, the sales numbers from earlier this year show a significant shift. This is the first time data has indicated that a state other than California has sold the most cannabis products in America. But don't start writing off California just yet. The state still brings in more cannabis cash than any other. In the first 3 months of 2024, California sold $1 billion worth of cannabis compared to Michigan's $786 million. The disparity between sales revenue and overall products sold likely comes down to price. Legal cannabis is remarkably cheap in Michigan, especially when compared to the often expensive options in California. So which state has the largest market now? That depends on which metric you pay attention to. Unit sales or overall revenue. Regardless of how you slice it, Michigan's ability to sell more pot than California, despite having a quarter of its population, highlights a significant in California's legal market. Hirsch Jan, a cannabis consultant advocate, put it bluntly: Michigan is unquestionably better at running the legal cannabis market than California. Michigan illustrates the way that California has squandered the opportunity. California's legal cannabis market is capturing only a fraction of its total potential. Illicit retailers are still selling billions of dollars worth of cannabis outside the legal market. High cannabis taxes and cost regulations have made legal cannabis expensive, while weak enforcement against illegal goods has allowed cheap, tax-free pot to thrive. Now, this means less tax revenue from cannabis legalization than expected. The first quarter of 2024 saw the lowest legal sales in nearly 4 years, leading to more business failures and less government funding. Michigan, on the other hand, has forced consumers into the legal market through strong enforcement against illegal sales by imposing one of the lowest cannabis tax rates in the country. As a result, legal cannabis is affordable and convenient for customers. Jane explained, in Michigan, blue-collar people can afford cannabis products at a price that's affordable to them, and they don't have to drive hours to do so. Another factor in Michigan's favor is that its neighboring states don't currently have illegal adult use pot sales, likely attracting out-of-state consumers. This is something California doesn't benefit from, as legal adult use is legal in Oregon, Nevada, and Arizona. However, Jane estimated that these out-of-state consumers only contribute to 5 to 10% of Michigan's overall sales. So what does it all mean? California might have to rethink its approach if it wants to help their legal industry succeed. Meanwhile, Michigan seems to be setting an example of how to make legal cannabis work effectively. And yet, despite all this, California still manages to make more money from cannabis sales. And let's be honest, the state is the biggest supplier in the illicit market around the world. The Golden State might be down, but it's far from out. I'm Stone Slade reporting for the High at 9 News.
Stone Slade, I'm calling fake news on this story.
Oh, what are you talking about?
100%. This story is totally skewed, okay? And I'm spelling it SKU''D. It's totally skewed. Okay. First of all. Okay. All right.
All right, Dad.
Yes. All right. So first of all, it's only based off of products sold. Okay. It's not based off of any weight. So like an ounce would count the same as one pre-roll or one package of gummies in this instance. Second reason for why it's skewed, okay, is the fact that how do I word this? BDS and Headset, they partner with different retails. So their data only comes from those retail establishments that they partner with. So it's not a culmination of the entire market. Like, they're not pulling this information from Metric and then seeing all retail sales and delivery sales and whatnot. This is only from the retail partners that they partner with to extract their data. And there's two main companies, Headset and BDS, that do this kind of thing. And so some dispensaries work with both. Some dispensaries only work with one or the other. So I would say this is a totally skewed story.
That was good. That was very good.
Jason over there with the Emerald Cup hangover.
Well, shout out to this person right here, P24, personal home grow, number 24.
Are you sure that's not? You sure that's not from Michigan?
I mean, I didn't get it in Michigan. I'll tell you that much. You know.
Come on, white Gucci.
Yes. I'm just telling you, I got experience out there.
Oh man,
One of the problems we have in California is baked into our Constitution and in Prop 64, and all the laws that came along with that is local control.
Yep.
Not every state has that, and to fix California's problem, we're going to have to do something about local control, because alcohol isn't local controlled. You can control the zones it goes in and stuff like that. You can't stop someone from getting a state alcohol license in California.
Yep.
But you can stop them from getting a state cannabis license. The local jurisdiction says, no, we're not going to do it. And we still, what are we up, 60-70% of the state still officially doesn't allow it?
Correct. 60% of the municipalities have no form of retail sales going on within their jurisdictions.
But you can bet your ass that right around the corner from City Hall, you can buy some weed. Okay? And that's where this whole thing is just upside down and backwards, because we're still spending resources chasing the black market, which is stupid. And if we could get a model going, you could show everybody that if you green light people to do this, stop so many regulations and taxes and step out of the way, the illegal market will die on the vine, because we take away the economic incentive and they go away. But there's too many dollars involved in fighting this and chasing this. You can't hardly break through the common sense that we get out of Michigan is lower the taxes, and guess what? Sell more weed.
Yeah, that's where Michigan deserves their flowers there, 100%. Yeah. With the lower taxes, I mean, they're competing with California even with skewed numbers, SKU numbers.
You like that, huh, Stone?
I liked it. It was really good, good. But way less population, and they're selling some good, selling good numbers.
Bro, but most of their customers are coming from out of state. Stone.
5 to 10%, they say.
Ohio.
It's all Ohio.
If you believe the numbers.
Yeah.
They're not getting raped at the local level. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. The operators aren't paying as much taxes, which means the consumers aren't paying as much taxes. So it's gonna cost less. And from what I've heard, I still have not had any Michigander weed, but from what I've heard, they got some good products.
No, they do have good products out there. Michigan does have some fire. I will say that. I know a lot of good people out there in Michigan that are producing great stuff, and probably even some stuff that I would even smoke. But
it's an easy formula, right?
But
easy formula for success, man.
But I can tell you right now, Stone Slade, I have another reason why this story is skewed.
Okay.
Yeah, you know why? Because what they really should be talking about, we're talking about the king of cannabis, so per se, as far as states go, would be the amount of production of products that happens within a state, and California blows Michigan out of the water when it comes to those numbers. So where's all the weed going, you guys?
You said like 3 Michigans in California?
Yeah.
Production-wise, we produce more flour, we produce more products, more consumer packaged goods than Michigan does. 100%.
Here's the thing. I think Michigan's going to continue with an upward trajectory because they don't really have much else like with that economy that is going upward. Right? Like the whole auto industry is like leaving Michigan.
Yep.
What else do they produce besides football?
Oh, you don't want me to go there. I'm not touching that one. You tried setting me up for a hot one right there, Rico. I see exactly what you did there. I see exactly what you did there. Yeah, I'm not taking that bait. I'm not taking the bait. But I'll tell you what, since you want to throw out the bait like that, I'm going to just roll in to this next story. You ready for this?
Come on with it.
That's right. Here's some bait for you, Rico, because Senator Collins pushes the FBI for more information on illegal marijuana grows in Maine. That's right. Senator Susan Collins continues to push federal authorities, this time the FBI, for more information about illegal marijuana grows operations in Maine. In a quote, "This is a serious problem, and our country, state, and local law enforcement have been working with federal officials, but they are overwhelmed by the magnitude of the task," Collins says. At a recent hearing, the Republican questioned FBI Director Christopher Wray about the illegal grows and China's potential involvement. Wray says they are starting to see more ties between many of these operations and Chinese organized crime. He says the United States and rural communities could be seen as an attractive market for the grows. In a quote, our assessment is that it's a combination of the fact it is activity that can be done relatively cheaply, and by comparison to other drugs in the United States, the consequences that they face from a legal perspective are not as severe as they might be in other countries where they might also want to operate, Ray said. So it makes for an attractive business proposition. Ray also added that the FBI is starting to see illegal grows on tribal lands as well, although it's unclear if that includes in Maine, you guys. What do you say, Rico?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man.
Maine's going to become a major exporter of weed now, right?
Well, I mean, it's the closest. It's the closest to everywhere else, except for Hawaii.
Yeah.
Really?
Weed is just not the problem. They're trying to scare people into thinking it is. I don't know how far they think they're going to go with this. The average person knows you smoke a joint, you're not going to, become a schizophrenic.
Well, I don't think they're trying to scare people. I don't think they're trying to scare people like that. I mean, when you look at the demographics in Maine, Maine is a pretty independent state. You're mixed with conservatives and a lot of independents and some Democrats up there too.
Libertarian state, man.
Yeah, it's a very libertarian state, and so I think what they're trying to do with this is to use this in the whole global argument against China of saying how they're coming into the rural communities and coming into here and extracting from here and setting up shop, and it's going to freak out people. That's what they're trying to do.
They're going to create one of two things: a police state, or they're going to create like a bunch of paranoia with folks with a bunch of charged language like this.
Mm-hmm.
Until the facts come out, man. Like,
yeah, because in the article they didn't even Christopher Ray, I feel like he should have stated some examples of saying yes, we did this with involvement to X, Y, and Z gang, and that way I feel like they should have incorporated some examples as opposed to just throwing out vagities as like everything is active ongoing investigation, so we can't comment kind of line.
Right, collect the facts.
Well, growing weed's an economic opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you know that all around you people are buying weed and you can get away with it in your state, I mean, you could be a white dude, it could be a black dude, it could be an Oriental dude. It doesn't really matter. If there's an economic opportunity there to grow some weed and sell it, they're going to take advantage of it. And the rest of this is propaganda. I mean, it doesn't matter what race you are, you can still grow decent weed or grow fucking boof. This is an economic opportunity available in the United States. They're taking advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
China is today's boogeyman. So I take all this shit like with a grain of salt. I see more of this as propaganda than anything else.
Mm-hmm. Well, fair enough. Any thoughts on this, Stone, before we move on to the last story?
No, go ahead. Last story. Sorry.
All right. I hope you're ready for this, Rico.
Come on with it, Jason.
Get your gas, because I got the lighter, okay? Yes, that's right, because VP Kamala Harris trashes marijuana gateway drug theory, but says she won't use a strain named after her. Why someone would want to smoke a strain named after Kamala Harris is beyond me, but nonetheless. Vice President Kamala Harris is shocked to learn that there's a strain of marijuana named after her, but she's not planning to try it anytime soon. However, that's not because she believes it's a gateway drug, a long-held theory that she pushed back against in a new interview. During appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live on Tuesday, Harris also seemed to overstate how the administration's move to reschedule cannabis would impact criminal justice and the resulting availability of resources for other priorities. In a quote, she says, "I think we both agree that people shouldn't have faith or shouldn't have to go to jail for smoking weed," the vice president said, earning applause, "and we've pardoned a number of people," she says. She also says, I think it's interesting also because remember, there was a time when people would say, well, marijuana is a gateway drug, and these were these were failed policies, she said. The resources should be better directed and will be better directed to deal with opioid addiction and what we need to do around fentanyl, getting more resources into mental health and mental health care, she says. Moving marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 of the Controlled Substances Act, as the Justice Department has formally proposed, would not legalize cannabis. So it's unclear how that reclassification would directly lead to the relocation or reallocation of resources, as the vice president suggested. I totally agree with that paragraph. Harris has previously faced criticism for inflating the impact of the administration's marijuana actions, including when she said in February that she and President Joe Biden had already changed federal marijuana policy. At that time, a rescheduling decision hadn't even been made. She's not the only administration official to exaggerate the impact of rescheduling since the decision was handed down. Office of National Drug Control Policy Director Rahul Gupta has incorrectly claimed the reform would address the racial disparity in cannabis enforcement and make cannabis available via prescription. Biden, for his part, recently corrected the record by acknowledging that his marijuana pardons did not expunge records, as he mistakenly said in the past. And on a lighter note, Harris seemed pleasantly surprised to learn during the Kimmel interview that there's a cannabis variety called Kamala Kush. She says, "Really? Seriously? I did not know that," she said, laughing. Kimmel said it was outrageous that she hasn't been gifted some of the product named after her, but Harris said she's not touching that. The Biden-Harris administration has increasingly leaned into its cannabis actions in the lead-up to the November election. For example, Harris met with marijuana pardon recipients for a roundtable event at the White House back in March, where she said behind closed doors that we need to legalize marijuana. Meanwhile, the proposed rule to federally reschedule marijuana was officially posted last month, kicking off a public comment period that's expected to elicit a major responses from supporters and opponents of cannabis reform, you guys. Well, I'm going to put my lighter away because that was an awful lot of gaslighting, but I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
I still cringe every time I hear Kamala Harris trying to support weed.
Right?
You know, it just goes back. Yeah. It just goes back to the last election when she claimed to have smoked weed, listening to Tupac.
We all
in
know
the back seat of her car.
Exactly.
In law school, when she went to law school in '84, Tupac came out in 1990. Like, I can't
exactly
anything she has to say about weed or any of that, but I can believe that her and her people will want a cut of the profits, and you're gonna find out where that Kamala Kush is coming from. And they'll be. I would not be surprised if she's investing in Kamala Kush or her husband, Doug Emhoff. They're getting their cut of this shit.
It'd be, in all fairness, it'd be doing more than what Kathy Hochul's doing.
Yeah, it would be.
Just saying.
You know,
just saying.
You know, I'll start believing either party. I'll go ahead and say it. I generally do not compare these parties because one is clearly a lot worse than the other. But
the Democrats are. You're right.
I will say this: that I don't believe none of them until I see them smoking weed. Then I'll start listening to them about the shit they're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that she says that she's not gonna touch it or da 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 da, like she immediately goes to that like right away.
No, hey, listen. The way she said it was more like, "I'm not touching that. I'm not touching that." It wasn't like a.
What? Who does she think she is? MC Hammer Stone?
You see, she's not gonna touch it, but the way she.
You think she's MC Hammer now?
She might be.
Okay.
She was probably listening to MC Hammer though, not Tupac at that point in time. I will say, Mr. Jimmy Kimmel, the reason that they haven't offered her any Kamala Kush is because sometimes between listening to Tupac and today, she imprisoned almost 2,000 people over cannabis. So if you're smart, you're not giving her any Kamala Kush. What are you going to say? I mean, it sucks who she was and where we are, but this is where we are, and they are stepping in the right direction, right, Dale? Off the cliff.
Yeah, I feel like...
Well, yeah, we had to deal with Kamala here in California.
Yep.
And We've been disappointed so many times over the last couple of administrations. We're going to do all this stuff for you, support us, and then in the end, we're blowing smoke up your ass, and you don't really get anything. And they're still trying to make a mountain out of a molehill for what they actually did for the cannabis industry here, and it's nothing. The cannabis industry, where they're trying to be legal, is generally circling the drain right now on so many fronts. Banking, 280E, other situations we cannot control. And I don't care how much weed Michigan sells, they still are going to have to pay the 280E tax, and they can't really get banking.
Exactly.
So with all of that, if you had pure possession and that's all you had, we're going to pardon you. Yeah, well, that's nothing compared to what's going on out there. And I just get tired of hearing it. It's all fucking gaslighting. No one really wants to take the bold steps necessary to fix this because they're afraid it might be, pick where their popularity. We need some bold steps to be taken, and not to Schedule 3. Someone needs to, Biden just did a bold step on the border. Why don't you just say, I'm going to take marijuana out of the Controlled Substance Act by executive action, make you go to court and fucking stop me.
You know what they should have called? You're right, Dale. You know what they should have called this, Rico?
What's that?
They should have got like some Zaza purple weed, and then they could have called it Kamala Cacaline.
Is it going to be sold with Willie Brown too, or has he got his own strain?
Willie Brown, definitely, yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
The soap operas have been going on here for so long. It's
exactly.
Like, dude, I'm trying to clean up who you are. Shut the fuck up. Admit what you've done. I have more respect for people. Yeah, I fucked up. I did this or that. I changed my mind. Here's why. Let's move forward. Instead of trying to pretend like you don't have a history that
and
we
like
all
it never
know
happened,
about.
right? Like it never even happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, this is as you said, Jason. This is gaslighting at the highest level.
Yeah, bro. I feel like I feel like this story should be sponsored by the Boring Company.
That's 2 bad jokes in a row, Jason. Come on, man.
He's tired. He had a long drive last night.
Yeah, bro.
Okay,
I'm on 3 hours of sleep right now, bro.
You had a couple of good hits today, though, man. I appreciate that.
Anytime, Rico.
Thank you all for joining us for yet another episode of High 9 News. Is that you, Jason?
No, that's not me, bro. That's you guys, bro. That's one of you guys.
You can catch us live weekdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to our live audience members and online supporters tuning in and giving us feedback on the daily headlines. You tell us matter the most because we're all democratic and shit. To our tenured industry correspondent team tuning in from all over, bring this much needed variety of perspective, your respected opinions to the table as well. Our production team, Cloud Media Partners, keeping the lights on. Adam and Millie behind the scenes, making sure we stay in check too. Adam, how you doing today, man? You fly down here with Jason?
Doing good, thank you.
Yeah, hope you didn't leave. Hope you didn't lose too many feathers, my brother. Good to have you back. Good to have you back. And I want to give a big birthday shout out again to Leah.
Oh
Patrick,
yes, happy birthday, Leah Patrick.
Can get an air horn for Leah.
Yes.
Finally, Cannabis Sativa, the reason why we show up to read these stories every single day. Thank you as well. It has been Thursday, June 6th, 2024. You've all been blessed with the top industry headlines. I hope it's enough for you to put in your pipe and smoke at least till tomorrow. My name is Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News, America's #1 daily cannabis news show. And we're going to give this one to Tio Loco. Bring us out.
Well, the takeaway for the day is the human being has a boundless capacity for love, cooperation, emotions. It also has capacity for violence. And we're hearing way too much trigger language for violence. And I just want to appeal to people, look to the better angels of our nature. Don't lock and load yet. We still got a lot of things we can do positively in this country. And I'm looking for the day when we stop pointing guns at each other and going after each other for stupid bullshit and understand we're all human. We all got the same problems, and we need to be able to be more cooperative. So off we go. It's D-Day, guys.
Yes.
80 years.
Yeah.
My uncle hit the beach as an Army medic. His Higgins boat hit a mine that drug his ass out, put him on the beach, and said, go forward. Oh, let's go. We can solve a lot of problems, and keep in mind we should love each other rather than kill each other.
Well.